What is up, you guys? My name is Lily. I'm a fiber artist and knitwear designer, and I like to make things. There are several elephants in this room. The first elephant is that I have a phone right in front of my face, and that's because I'm gonna use my phone to record this audio because I got a camera, which is the second elephant. However, I don't have a mic, and to be honest, I don't fucking know how cameras work at all. Like, I literally almost Googled how to take a video until I realized that there was like a little recording button. So that's where we're at. I'm just so excited to share that announcement with you guys. I hope that the sound quality and the image quality is good on this video. But anyways, hi guys. We're doing something a little bit different today. I'm gonna be reacting to your guys' knit and crochet hot takes, and I'm also gonna be sprinkling in a little bit of mine in the middle. I do feel like mine are pretty hot, but because this video is kind of like tea and spicy, I did get a glass of red wine just like for the vibes. So that's where we're at. Without further ado, let's just get right into it. Okay, let's start semi-tea, but not horrible tea. The first one I got was crochet ribbing looks terrible, and I will always do knit ribbing on crochet pieces instead. And I felt personally victimized by this one because, as you guys might know from my videos, I am not as much of a hand knitter. I'm more of a crocheter who has a knitting machine type of vibe. And so I was like, damn, she's really calling me out right now because all of my ribbing I've ever done is literally crocheted. So I was like, okay, tea. I honestly need to like pull up pictures, but to be honest, like she's probably right. Well, I don't know. No, you know what? I'm forming my opinion right now. Mentally, I'm imagining this. I think that she is right. I think knit ribbing does look cleaner because crochet ribbing, it has like a ribbing effect, but it has like bumps at the top, which I can literally show you because I have crochet ribbing right there that I'm making for my aunt. Whereas knit ribbing, I feel like is more seamlessly like out in, if that makes sense. Let me pull up my knit ribbing really quick and show you guys. Like this looks good, but like I do think that knit ribbing looks better. Like, let's be honest. Okay, so that's the tea on that. Let me know if you are team crochet ribbing or team knit ribbing. Moving on, my girlie Nasli said only losers believe in the sweater curse. And I was like, what is the sweater curse? I've never heard of this. I've never heard of anything. I literally live under a rock. I don't go online that much, not on TikTok. But I don't know if this is even from TikTok, but apparently the sweater curse is when you knit a sweater or crochet a sweater for your boyfriend and then they break up with you because they're like too overwhelmed by the gesture. And she said only losers believe in the sweater curse, and I would have to agree because if you are a man who is leaving your woman or partner for making you a sweater, you are a loser. Case rested. Trial adjourned, whatever the fuck people say. Future Lily here, jumping in with the facts. So I did look this up, and apparently this is a commonly held belief in the knitting community, surprise, surprise, in which you knit a sweater for a significant other and then it leads to you being broken up with or the relationship ending before you even finish the sweater. And at first I was like, BFFR, you guys, but then I was like, I actually do have a friend who this happened to. She was knitting him a scarf and they ended up breaking up. So maybe there's some facts. Moving on, I've got quite a few like hot takes about like fibers, specifically acrylic versus or like vegan fiber versus like natural fibers. And there's obviously a huge debate about this because on the one hand, natural fibers are better for the environment. They come from animals. On the other hand, people have like ethical reasons why they don't want to consume animal products. And so one of the hot takes I got was vegan fiber is overrated. Vegan equals man-made equals oil-based equals yuck. I don't know if I would take like this exact stance on it just because I am empathetic to, or maybe sympathetic to the fact that some people, they can't afford natural fibers. However, to market it as vegan does feel a little greenwashy. Like, it is vegan, like it's not an animal product, but it's almost like tricking you into thinking it's like better for the environment when really it does have like a very negative impact on the environment. I don't know if I would say vegan fiber is overrated, but I would say that I do feel like vegan fiber being labeled as such is probably slightly misleading. In this scenario, I would more so villainize the companies who try to sell us whatever product they can with whatever marketing they can. So I would more so direct like my anger towards them than consumers who might not be able to afford natural fibers, etc. I'm a natural fibers girly all the way. Like my dress is made from wool and silk. I love my natural fibers. I think that they last longer. They don't pill as much in my experience. They're more comfortable. They're better for the environment. But I started out with acrylic because it's not expensive, and the only reason why I use natural fibers is because I buy it wholesale and dye it myself. So I save a ton of money doing that, but it is a lot of work. So that's where I stand on that. Okay, moving on to something a little bit different. This is about pricing. As someone who sells knit and crochet clothing, pricing your stuff is very difficult to do, and I never get paid fairly for the amount of time something like takes. Like, it takes me like 10 hours to crochet a dress and I charge like $180. I don't know what the math is on that, but that's definitely not a living wage, especially with materials. And so her hot take is that less experienced fiber artists should not charge as much as experienced fiber artists for their work. And I thought that was really interesting. And I asked her to elaborate, and she basically just said, like, people who are still learning the craft, you know, they're not as fast, they're not as experienced, they make mistakes, they shouldn't charge $20 an hour for like that time, basically like an apprenticeship, like they're learning. I want to say I agree with that, but I do think that pretty much everyone in this industry isn't being paid fairly, whether they're experienced or not. So I imagine that people who are newer to the like knit and crochet game, they're probably not charging fairly for themselves, even at the level that they're at. Like, I remember when I started, I was charging like $40 or $50 for a top that took me like 7 hours. Like, it's like, do the math, babe. It's not worth it. And then I finally feel I got to know like myself aesthetically and my worth, etc. And I started charging more. So I guess I agree with her, but I do think in reality, this probably doesn't happen that much and isn't that much of a problem, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay, moving on. Another hot take from my mutual is materials usually cost more than some consumers are willing to pay in the first place. This I totally agree with. I think that this is, I don't know if I would say this is a problem, but this is a problem for me in the craft, like knit, crochet. I don't even want to call it craft, because to me this is like fashion, which I think is slightly different. But in this area, there is very much, and rightfully so, a DIY spirit of like, I want to make this. I'm interested in knits because I want to knit and knit for myself and make things. And I think as a result, people in this community are not very willing to buy finished products. And I do sometimes feel like it does devalue other people's work, because it's sort of like implying I would rather not pay you for your ideas. Like, I would rather just like make it myself. And so as a result, I think people are really not as willing to pay the cost of what something is worth in terms of materials and time, because they have this feeling of like, I could just do it myself. And that's a hard thing about making fashion and doing like knits and crochets, that like you kind of need to find what makes you special and find what materials you can afford to use and sort of like make it work. And maybe you have to pivot and make patterns and not make finished pieces, but that's sort of like an individual journey. And I do agree that a lot of the time consumers aren't that willing to pay the price. And I think also consumers are not educated enough on how time consuming making knits and crochet actually is. If you haven't ever knit a dress or crocheted a dress, like, you just don't viscerally understand how hard it is. But yes, I agree. Let's throw in one of my hot takes. Like, this is sort of related, you guys. One thing that triggers me as a knitwear designer is when people ask me to drop a pattern for like a finished piece that I'm selling. This happens to me a lot. I am sure it happens to other creators, but a lot of people I follow are more into like the pattern making business. Not a fly. But like, for example, I just released a drop called Rosewater. It's my first crochet drop, and people are asking me to like drop a pattern. Oh my God. I just got tea text from my sister. And people are asking me to drop a pattern for a piece of clothing that I spent hours on designing and making, and I'm now selling. And to me, it's like rude, honestly. And like, I feel like I might get backlash for this one, because like in this community, it's very much like DIY, like patterns, etc. But I am here to design and sell clothes. Like, that's what makes me happy. And it's totally fine other people don't want that. But yeah, if you are out here trying to sell like a finished piece, I feel like asking for a pattern is just not very nice. Totally get why people would do it, but to me it implies, cool, I don't really care that you made this, like, please just give me the pattern so I can make it myself. Like, almost like I don't value like your time or your design. I wouldn't pay you for this. I would rather make it myself, which obviously is fine. People feel like that, but I think it's like one of those things of like, keep it to yourself maybe. But that's just my opinion. Moving on to another one. Speaking of the like acrylic natural fibers conversation, one of my mutuals said we should be having more nuanced conversations about acrylic yarn. Like I said, I'm not online that much, but I do know that there is like some heated and strong opinions in this area and about crafts in general, which I kind of didn't know. And I don't think it has to be that deep, but it's whatever. And she's saying we need to have more nuanced conversations about acrylic yarn. And I totally agree. Like, I agree that natural fibers are nicer, but at the same time, I would never shame someone for like needing to use acrylic because that's all they can afford, or like they're still learning and they don't want to spend $25 on a skein of yarn, which is a lot of fucking money. And yeah, I think we need to be more understanding and empathetic and place our blame instead of on us as individuals on like large companies who are profiting off of our demise literally on this planet. Yeah, so totally agree. Have that conversation in my comments, you guys. Like, let's kiki. And then I got one from YouTube, which is red heart yarn should not be used for clothes. And I totally agree. I've fallen victim to red heart yarn multiple times. It's because, bruh, like that bright red color that they have is just so pretty to me. Like, I want everything in that bright red color, and it's so cheap and there's so much. And when you're like first learning, you just don't know. And so like when I first started crocheting, I did fully use the red heart yarn, and I made like a short and cardigan set, which I still have. Do I wear it very much? Not at all. I almost never wear it because honestly, there's probably a lot of problems with it. I honestly think red heart yarn shouldn't be used for anything. Like, let's be fucking for real right now. Like, it just doesn't last long. It pills, like it looks bad. This is just from my personal experience. Like, I've totally been down this road, and like, it's just not worth it to me, but that's okay. To each their own. Okay, and then let's close this out with my last personal hot take, which is that I think that things made on a knitting machine are still handmade. Sort of like a story time. I got my center knitting machine about a year ago, and when I got it, I posted like a few little reels on my Instagram, like excited to use it. And actually 2 of them went like extremely viral. Like, they got like 100 million and like 40 million views of me just like cranking it back and forth. And I got a lot of hate on those videos, which I think is normal with like ultra viral content, which is like sick that like humanity just like starts being like really trash when you get to a certain level. But I got a lot of hate comments that were saying like, this is cheating, like my grandma would be so upset, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, like I just posted this video on my like silly little Instagram, like didn't ask for your opinions, clearly don't agree since I'm using it, why are you here, like type of thing. And like, I think I get this feeling of like, if you had never seen that machine before, you might feel like a little bit competitive, honestly, with it, of like, you spend so much time knitting something and you see it's made like much faster, and that might feel a little bit like invalidating. And I totally like get that. But at the same time, I think what people don't realize is like, things made on the center knitting machine, they still take fucking forever. Like, that thing does not move that fast. The motion of cranking isn't a very fast motion. It's much faster to just move something back and forth on like a flat panel machine. So I think that people don't actually understand that it still takes quite a long time to like make things with that thing. Just because you're not hand knitting those panels, like you are still hand making something. It's like arguing if you're using a sewing machine like you didn't hand make a piece of clothing. Like, you're not out here hand sewing clothing, like you're using a machine. So I just don't think we need to be shaming each other for like the different ways that we choose to make things. I think it's total bullshit. If you have nothing nice to say, look at yourself in the mirror and think about it a little bit more. And I'm not just saying that because I'm someone who does use those machines. I genuinely do believe that we need to focus our negative energy on things that are more productive than that. That's just my opinion. With all that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like DIYs, tutorials, and crafty girl things, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel and share it with your crafty girl friends. I am really grateful for all of you that are here. We're above 5,000 and I'm just like obsessed with this like community we're growing. Like, I really fucking like you guys. So happy to be here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.